All right, YouTube. This Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit, back with another video. I hope you enjoyed your holiday weekend, or some of you might still be dealing with a long week, extended weekend. Now, a lot of my subscribers, especially a lot of my Black American subscribers, they've been in an uproar about Project 25, 2025. Okay. Now they said some uh, nefarious agenda. But today we're going to break down exactly what Project 2025 is. And you're going to see that the Democrats, as usual, are lying and fear mongering and scaring the people. Now, one thing about it, Project 25 wants to restore this country back to the Constitution of the United States of America and to the Republic of which it is formed and to secure the American people. It also deals with the Bible and conservative views. But what's all the fear mongering about? Because certain people feel threatened by it. So they want to make everybody scared. They really want to make Black Americans scared of Project 2025 when it's produced by the Heritage Foundation, not Trump. And another thing about it is when you actually figure out what Project 2025 is, you got to ask yourself, are you really against it? Because the people who are mad about it are the people who want to deal with your children's gender identity. They want to open the borders. They want their inclusiveness to include all type of nefariousness and debauchery. So they know that a lot of us don't read because it's a 900-page document. But today, we're going to break down what Project 2025 is for yourself. You're going to hear from the very architect of the document. And then you decide if what you're hearing from the likes of Charlemagne, Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Reid, all these Democratic shields and pundits, these sellouts that's been selling out the Black community forever, the Al Sharptons of the world, that have sold their souls to the Democratic plantation, and they want us all back on the Democratic plantation. So they use fear mongering because they don't have policy. How can a country run their whole policy on abortion when they say that it's a we lack citizens in destroying our borders, transgendering and dealing with our kids, invading the educational system? Then when they say, okay, Roe v. Wade was overturned, that only meant that the states individually would decide what goes on in the states, just like the Constitution had established to be. So you will see if you actually read that what the conservatives are doing is trying to restore this country back to a somewhat normality because we're really moving abnormal. You know what I mean? The LGBT community got their own flag. You know what I'm saying? Immigrants are living better than veterans. The inflation is through the roof. And the fact that they're saying there's a lot of jobs is a bald-faced lie. These Democrats now, they lie to your face because they play you for a fool because they know you won't do your research. So today, we're dealing with Project 2025, the new boogeyman that they're going to use to scare you to vote for Uncle C Now, Jim Crow Joe. Without further ado, we're going to get into this video. I'm doing a reaction to The Righteous Perspective. This brother be having a lot of good content, and I like to react to his videos. It's for fair use in the 1976 Copyright Act and the First Amendment. We always got to include the First Amendment right now in this country. We got to be standing on some type of law that we can try to get them to respect when they come for us. But let's look at this boogeyman that they're trying to scare you with. And then you'll be able to see how much they lie when they bring it up. Check this out.
25 is a major initiative led by the Heritage Foundation and a coalition of conservative organizations to prepare for Trump's second term and for future Republican presidents.
Project 2025, spearheaded by conservative think tank the Heritage Foundation, is a years in the making, 900-plus page presidential transition plan giving Team Trump a detailed blueprint for a potential second term. That blueprint would radically remake the federal government, if executed, with its stated goal being, quote, to assemble an army of aligned, vetted, trained, and prepared conservatives to go to work on day one to deconstruct the administrative state. The project is built on 4 pillars, which go well beyond previous transition efforts. There's the policy agenda, personnel, training, and a 180-day playbook to execute the think tank's plans. Many authors of the blueprint are former Trump officials. Joining us now, one of the architects of Project 2025, the president of the Heritage Foundation, Dr. Kevin Roberts. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Dr. Roberts. Thank you for joining us and comment.
Now, I want you to watch and pay attention to this carefully, because the architect, he's on MSNBC, and he's dealing with Simone Sanders and these shields for the Democratic Party. Even Steele, the guy Steele, who used to be a Republican, who switched lanes for whatever payment plan they had over there on the Democratic Party. But I want you to pay attention to the dialogue so you can see exactly how they're twisting and lying to the people and fear-mongering you about Project 2025. Because it's only coming from a think tank. It has no weight in law. It is a blueprint that the Heritage Foundation thought of to counter the deep state trafficking. Well, I'm gonna let you hear for yourself.
I know people are like, y'all got the architect of the 2025? Yes, because everyone has been talking about it. And we saw our interview that you did with the Associated Press, and we've been reading through some things. And I think we just want to first start with anchoring this conversation in. You told the New York Times that this plan is a plan that is for anyone. It's not just for Donald Trump. You would like if President Biden would implement some of it, but you don't think that that's going to happen. And so you reject the assertion that this is a plan that was cooked up specifically for the second coming of the Trump administration.
I appreciate that question, because as your lobby shows when you walk in, you've got the word honesty and the word accuracy there. That's an honest and accurate.
Now, I'm only stopping there because I want you to see that this plan was not put together just for Trump or conservatives. It was put together for American government to try to restore this country to some type of normalcy. Because right now, if you can't see that it's totally off the hinges, if you look at the BET Awards, if you look at the parades and Pride Month and all these different things that are eroding the moral fiber of a people and got us at each other's throat, you will see why the conservatives said we need a blueprint to give these people some type of standing in law, some type of standing in country, without lawfare, without a deep state. I'm gonna let you continue.
Depiction, and I'm grateful. Number one, the Heritage Foundation couldn't do that because we are nonpartisan. We can't be tied to one candidate. Secondly, we have offered a briefing of Project 2025 dating back to last year to every candidate for presidency, including President Biden. Honest to goodness, I would have been thrilled if President Biden and his team asked for a briefing. We understand that we have differences of opinion on just about everything, but at Heritage, we believe in telling the truth with a smile on our face. But the last point I should make is that now that President Trump is the nominee, and President Biden has not taken a Project 2025 briefing, President Trump is going to make decisions about policy in his administration if he wins. Project 2025 is something that's going to transcend the next 4 years, the next 10 years. It really is, for the first time in the history of the conservative movement, the apparatus for policy and personnel. That's the most important thing to remember.
I have one follow-up. It's just that you have said that this plan is about institutionalizing Trumpism. So, because I also know you all, not just the president of the Heritage Foundation, you're also president of the Heritage Action, which is the political action committee. And so,
Lord, help me understand this moment in my life. It's sort of like Peter when he was
Is it tied to Trump or not?
I said the context for that comment to the New York Times was that the work of the Heritage Foundation was to institutionalize Trumpism. Trumpism as a new version of conservatism, conservatism that recognizes that by every objective measure, the United States is weaker in 2024 than it was in 1984. We also happen to think that's reversible, by the way. We're ultimately optimists. And by institutionalizing Trumpism, what we're saying is that even though we are known as Ronald Reagan's think tank, I'm a son of the Reagan Revolution, I'm very proud of that, that's 40 years ago. And we need to understand what time it is in America. And right now, Donald Trump, whether someone likes it or not, I happen to like it, is the standard bearer for conservatism.
Is 100% spot on. We're tired of the neocons and the uniparty. Politicians on both sides of the aisle have pretended to oppose each other for too long. And in reality, they've just been working together to maintain the status quo. Well, the status quo is no longer working for the American people.
The blueprint for a second Trump term? It may be this document, more than 900 pages long, outlining big changes to government as we know it.
If we don't win, this country is finished.
Making a splash everywhere from Congress.
Project 2025 is a far-right manifesto.
To TikTok.
Project 2025 likely isn't going to happen.
Making a stir among progressives.
It is a 900-page blueprint for an authoritarian takeover.
Oh, just the right blueprint for reshaping America.
Project 2025, the brainchild of former Trump officials and conservative think tank, the Heritage Foundation.
Weaponized conservatives ready to do battle against the deep state.
That battle plan outlining several key proposals, including a federal government under much tighter presidential control. Even now, independent agencies like the Department of Justice would answer almost entirely to the president. It's a controversial idea known as unitary executive theory that would streamline decision-making and potentially replace many career civil servants with political appointees presumably loyal to Mr. Trump. The plan calls for more spending for a U.S.-Mexico border wall, a signature Trump proposal back in 2016.
Build that wall.
More federal power to control immigration and increased fees for the immigrants allowed to stay. On this side of the border, big cuts to corporate taxes and income tax for America's highest earners, cuts to federal investments in renewable energy and carbon reduction goals, and more fossil fuel and energy production. Project 2025 also taking aim at what it calls woke.
Now, what you hearing and how they trying to blur the words, Project 25 is about securing the border, building a wall that would have kept these millions of immigrants from out of our cities committing these crimes, taking jobs, and just wreaking havoc. So they're talking about replacing the bureaucrats in government with officials. So you can't have people like Clyburn and Maxine Waters and these people who are using race baiting tactics, fear tactics. See, you can look at the Democratic Party right now. They've been race baiting for so long and using gender politics that they're actually imploding on each other. You got the Democrats calling each other racist. You got Democratic delegates saying if they vote for anybody white, they're going to destroy the party, blow the party up, because that's how long that they have been playing gender and race politics, that they are actually using those same tactics on each other and not the conservatives. So when you look at, when they say a deep state, everybody knows that Joe Biden is not running the country. So who's running the country? And why are they running the country behind the scenes and got this senile old man, allegedly, running the country? You see Joe Biden's in cognitive decline, and he's been in that way for a while. Who's running the country? Who is the hidden hand that is ruling in secrecy? But you say the deep state, when somebody uses that term, is some type of theory that you can't actually understand when you're witnessing it in front of your eyes. Let's finish.
Culture warriors calling for deleting a long list of terms from all federal rules, including sexual orientation and gender identity. It also would eliminate the education department. It's not uncommon for think tanks to create wish lists for governments in waiting.
Now, I'm going to stop one more time. Well, maybe not one more time, but I want you to think about this. They're eliminating these terms from the school, gender identity, and all this stuff that me, as somebody who's always 60, almost 60 years old, I didn't grow up with no education department telling me that I could change my gender, I could change my identity, I could change my pronoun, and uh, you don't even have to notify my parents that I'm going to school and taking off my overalls and wearing a dress. Y'all don't want them to change that? Y'all don't want to take that power from the education department, really? And y'all don't want the borders closed, really? Y'all say y'all Christians and they're in an outroar about the Ten Commandments being put up in school, but the Ten Commandments is honored by Muslims, Jews, and Christians alike. So who is behind this nefarious agenda that wants to demonize a conservative agenda that will restore order, restore a nuclear family? See, y'all got to read between the lines because when the devil lies, he speaks of his own, and these demons is lying.
But with the race for the White House basically deadlocked, Democratic opposition to the plan is ramping up against what Congressman Jared Huffman, behind the Stop Project 2025 task force, calls a dystopian plot.
I think what troubles me the most is just the explicitness of the extremism. We've never seen them talk in this kind of a swaggering, explicit way about basically gutting our democracy.
This weirdo is appealing to your liberalism. He's appealing to the fact that he knows that every human being has a vice or has sinned. So we know there's none of us without sin, but he wants to normalize sin under the guise of inclusiveness and liberalism. He wants to normalize debauchery. That I've been telling you, their liberalism is okay for debauchery because the freaks are running the freak show. You can't see it. You ain't see the BET Awards. You don't see that there's some type of nefarious plot to make us immoral. Let me give y'all another quick history lesson on words. The word devil comes from the word diablos. Diablos comes from the word El Shaitan, and the word El Shaitan became Satan. The word El Shaitan and devil actually means, etymologically wise, one whose evil is not confined to himself and induces others to do evil. I'm going to say that again. The origin of the word devil comes from Shaitan, and it means one whose evil is not confined to himself and he induces others to do evil. Think about the word.
Doing it now, and the people who are saying these things are the most inner circle leaders of Donald Trump's political world.
Those behind Project 2025 accuse Democrats of fear-mongering.
This really would tee up an incoming administration to achieve more than we've ever seen under a conservative president before.
As for the Trump campaign's response to all things Project 2025, the campaign says unless it's coming from the former president's own mouth, no aspect of future presidential staffing or policy announcements should be deemed official. The campaign has been pointing to its own so-called Agenda 47. That's their official campaign playbook for the next Trump presidency.
Taking the fight straight to the deep state, getting rid of unelected bureaucrats, increase border spending, income tax cuts, energy independence, eliminating the education department. Where do I sign up? I love this. But what is Project 2025 actually about? And why does it have Democrats all up in arms? The project is essentially a government in waiting, ready to jump into action day one. The goal, to dismantle the deep state and replace it with the government for the people, by the people. The project is outlined in a nearly 1,000-page handbook. One of its primary goals is to secure the border and overhaul the immigration system that has brought illegal
Y'all didn't notice before Biden ended his not ended, But before it really got close to election time, how they altered the First Amendment, almost banning the teaching of the New Testament, using lawfare, opening the borders to all kind of foreign nationals. Have you noticed who's actually been undermining the country in almost a treasonous way? Think about it. Think about what you're actually seeing from these Democrats. Think about how Kamala Harris is throwing parties playing Sexy Red and Ski and Taraji. Think about how the government now has teamed up with the music industry and Hollywood, and they on Epstein's list. Do you remember right before Trump was out of office and they started indicting Epstein and talking about the things that was going on this island and how Trump was trying to stop trafficking? I'm here in Detroit. Every other day, there's a missing young child. Every day. Think about what's really going on.
Immigrants, human traffickers, and fentanyl across our borders. This includes reinstating the border wall construction and implementing stricter policies to curb illegal immigration. The project also aims to reclassify tens of thousands of federal employees under Schedule F, which would make it easier to fire those who are seen as obstructing the president's agenda. The project also seeks to eliminate the Department of Education, giving control back to local authorities and parents. This is a move towards school choice. It empowers parents to decide what's best for their children's education without federal.
You guys, I mean, a lot of you may not be old enough to remember when parent teachers conference was a big thing in the community. The parents went every so many months to the school and seen what was being taught in the school and had a say so in it. When they say that school of choice, that means that you could choose curriculum. They said, oh, the conservatives, they wanted to ban certain books. Certain books should be banned from children. Think about that. When I was in elementary school, we was seeing See Johnny Run. Now they saying in school now, see Johnny change to Jane. Johnny feels like a girl now. That's what they're teaching. Then they want to teach all the racial division as if history for Black Americans starts with slavery and ends with racism and Jim Crow. They don't want to give us no type of education that doesn't victimize us and make us second-class citizens under the guise of liberalism. How many times can you say that somebody is a racist or this is a racist to the point to where everybody is calling everybody a racist now as soon as you say something? I just told you the Democrats are even calling each other racists over there. They saying if you don't do this, then you a racist, but y'all on the same party. Y'all can't see that this is chaos, organized chaos by globalists, global elites, a very deep state.
Interference. The project also calls for a top to bottom overhaul of the Department of Justice, which the Biden administration has used as a political weapon against its opponents. The project emphasizes a strong national defense, including increased military budget and focusing on new threats like cyber warfare. It also plans to abolish recent diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives within the Pentagon. And finally, the project includes a sweeping deregulation agenda to boost economic growth by reducing bureaucratic red tape that stifles innovation and entrepreneurship. It calls for massive cuts to the federal spending. This is the big bad boogeyman Democrats are all up in arms about. Limited government, individual liberty, traditional values, a strong national defense, fiscal responsibility, constitutionalism, and the rule of law. This is what Democrats are so afraid to let you have. Now, I know this sounds like a lot, but let's break it down a bit. The Heritage Foundation and its allies are essentially preparing to take a sledgehammer to the current federal bureaucracy. They believe the federal government has become too bloated, too powerful, and too disconnected from the American people. And they're not wrong. Personally, I think this is a common sense approach to governance. We need to secure our borders, ensure our children are getting the best education possible, and promote policies that lead to energy independence and economic growth. The left has had their chance. And what have we gotten? Higher taxes, more regulations, division, and a government that is more interested in controlling our lives than serving us. This project is about undoing progressive policies that have led to crime, deaths of despair, lower birth rates, child predation, and the breakdown of the family. And how do Democrats feel about this common sense agenda? Let's check in with them.
Time for us to play chess, not checkers. It's about making decisions that will affect us as human beings, our careers, our next generations to come. Did you know that it is now a crime to be homeless? Pay attention. It's not a secret. Look it up. They are attacking our most vulnerable citizens. The Project 2025 plan is not a game. Look it up.
The pandering was on 1,000 with that one.
Now, let me just say, Taraji P. Henson's so slow. You know, they're using these actors in a way to just appeal to Black Americans because you act like you identify with these Holly weirdos. She say, it's a crime to be homeless now. No, it's not. It's always been a misdemeanor to be a vagrant in vagrancy. But she's twisted it. Oh, it's a crime. No, y'all have always known that there are vagrancy laws. But Project 2025 wants to deal with what is the cause of people being vagrant? What is the cause of these veterans living under bridges and being homeless? What is the cause of this displacement of persons? Now they want to change the word homeless to unhoused. You see how they just changing the word? You can't say this anymore. You can't say that. You know what I mean? Censorship. This is why the Democrats don't want you to know about 2025 in a real way, because they rule with a global agenda that is debaucherous and is rooted in human trafficking, just like the slave trade that they like to throw in your face.
Oh, yeah, exactly what we needed. More out of touch celebrities lecturing us again. How has it been working for you guys? Did you know that it is now a crime to be homeless? I sure didn't. More liberal lies. Has she even read the agenda? She obviously has no idea what it's even really about. There's no real argument for why a Trump presidency would be worse than a Biden one. So the Democrats have to pick apart things like Project 2025 and make them their boogeyman. This is the problem with the left. They jump to conclusions without understanding the facts. They fearmonger and spread misinformation because they know that Project 2025 would actually help Americans, not just white Americans, not just Black Americans, not just Hispanic Americans, all Americans. Project 2025 is about putting America first, and they hate that. With Project 2025, we're looking at a real solution, and we know Democrats hate solutions. We're talking about a government that's lean, efficient, and focused on the needs of its citizens. We're talking about America where the rule of law is respected, where innovation thrives, and where the American dream is within reach for everyone who respects our laws and values. Compare this to Agenda 2030, the globalist plan pushed by the United Nations. Agenda 2030 is all about centralized control, increased regulations, and loss of national sovereignty. Its goal is to create a one world government where unelected bureaucrats dictate how we live our lives. The left is terrified of Project 20.
I'm going to stop there and I'm going to put his video in the community section. But I wanted to end there because The global elites want a one world government with centralized authority, whereas Trump is turning over the rights back to the states. The states will vote and determine what goes on in the states. He's going all the way back to the Constitution and what the government intended for the people. The country and the federal officials are supposed to serve the people, and they're not doing that right now. They're serving a globalist agenda, and this is why they adamantly against it, because the money that's coming from outside forces into this country to them is from global elites, because the American dollar is not backed by gold. The American dollar is a federal note. It's a debtor's note. It's not backed by anything. It's backed by the taxation of the people. So basically, what America is saying, we don't have a dollar that's backed by gold. Our dollar is backed by the fact that we exploit the citizens. So we used a birth certificate and a social security card as tools against them to ensure that we can pay our debts to China and other countries. Because guess what? No matter what, we're going to tax our citizens. We're not going to drill for no oil. We're not going to have gold. We're going to tax our citizens. That's why we give them a birth certificate, a social security card, and we call that chattel papers. And we disseminate that on the stock market. And you can loan us money, and our collateral is the people. The citizens are the collateral. When you say, oh, United States owes China all this money, what's the collateral that China accepted to give them the loans? They accepted the chattel papers, which is the birth certificate and ID of every citizen that's being taxed. We're collateral right now, not citizens. We're property, and they're running the country as a business. So why wouldn't you want a businessman in office? Since America is not a country anymore, it's a corporation. Think about it. So I'm not going to keep you, let you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Think about what's been said. Signing out of Detroit, this is Detroit's HPTV. I would like y'all to support Detroit's Black Thought and Action Collective, the nonprofit of Detroit. And as always, salute to all the patriots and keep y'all head on the swivel. Like, share, and subscribe. Don't trust these Democrats. Peace.